Mike SowersUNCC Sowers is one of the most well-respected online poker players out there today. He has taken down numerous big-ticket online poker tournaments, including the $200K guarantee on Ultimate Bet, the $150K guarantee on Absolute, and the Super Tuesday on PokerStars. He also has a PokerStars World Championship of Online Poker title under his belt. All said, he has more than $500,000 in Online Player of the Year qualified winnings. Sowers has also proven himself on the live circuit as well. This year, he's taken down a Borgata Winter Open prelim for almost $400,000, and he made the final table of an event in the currently running World Series of Poker. We have Mike in the studio today to talk about his recent success and his winning strategies. All right, well, thanks a lot for joining us today, Mike.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Well, let's start off with the most exciting thing that happened to you recently, which was your World Series final table. And it wasn't just any final table, it was the Pot Limit Hold'em Championship, $10,000 championship, and the final table was literally stacked with every single person at that table was a recognizable face. There was no one unknown at that table.
Yeah.
So that was hardcore. How stacked was the field before that?
The field, once we got down to about 50, was just full of faces. Very few spots on the table left that we're just going to donate. And yeah, it was just a really tough field. I mean, a $10,000 event, they're always going to be tough fields.
Yeah. Well, what is your plan of attack when going into an event like that where you know it's going to be just completely stacked, especially as compared to something like a $1,000 buy-in event at the World Series?
Honestly, I think it makes it easier just because you kind of know where everybody's at, and you really, like, you have a lot of history, or you know a lot of these people and how they're going to play, and just like, I guess the bigger events, you just get more focused and more like, I'm going to go out there and compete with the big guys. I guess it just makes me focus so much more and just try to play my top A game to go out there and beat the best.
Okay. Well, and actually, that's kind of a controversial thing that I was thinking about asking you, but I wasn't going to. So now I guess I will. Yeah. A lot of people are convinced that they think it's easier for them to play against good players because they kind of know where those players are coming from, whereas bad players are a lot more unpredictable, and you don't necessarily know where they're coming from, even though they're theoretically supposed to be easier players to manipulate. So what's your thought on that?
Well, I guess I enjoy the better competition because it allows me to like play more hands and stuff, play more pots because I really can kind of figure out where they're at, whereas against, a bad player, I'm probably just going to play a tight standard ABC game, and so I just have to play a little more patient in the smaller buy-ins, and I guess that's why I enjoy the bigger buy-ins, is because you can actually pretty much get a read on the table from when you sit down when it's only 400 entrants. I mean, there might be a little more than under half the field that you already know a little bit about their games.
Right. What is the key difference, in your opinion, between pot limit hold'em and no limit hold'em? I mean, aside from obviously the betting structure, how do you play them differently?
Well, actually, in pot limit hold'em, it encourages a lot more post flop action. You see a lot more flops. You're usually a lot deeper, especially compared to like. I know everybody's heard of the M factor, Dan Harrington. Your M is always way more in pot limit hold'em because there's no antes out there. You can really play a more tight game, but it's really more of a position game in that, the betting is capped, so it encourages just more flop plays instead of, people re-raising a lot more pre-flop.
Okay. Well, and you said that it gets to the flop a lot more often in pot limit hold'em, which makes sense because it can't become an all-in shove fest. But on that hand, a lot of people consider post-flop action to be where more skill is required because you really have to get a read of your opponent and you have to kind of string together betting patterns. So would you consider pot limit hold'em to be a more skillful variant? Or is there more to it than that?
I wouldn't say it's a more skillful variant. Both each have, really wide ranges of skill that you need. And really, I think my game is more tailored to playing flops, playing pots in position, seeing a lot of flops and then making decisions after the flop rather than pre-flop. So I guess pot limit hold'em actually, helps my game a little bit in that it kind of gets everybody in the zone of, hey, you need to play flops, and I'm already really good at flops. So.
Okay. Well, you don't play in a huge number of live events, so do you still prefer online poker, or are you just kind of starting to get into the live events more now?
Yeah, I just turned 21 in October, so I'm just starting to get into the events now. Like, pretty much, I'm just so burnt out online. Like the whole drive to like be the best, I think, is what keeps me in it. And online, I kind of feel like I just accomplished everything that I could accomplish, and I kind of, I don't know, like I really enjoy being at the table, like watching real faces and getting into the real tempo of the game. Whereas online, you're just playing 6 tables and there is no real feel to the game until there's a table left and you're just sitting there watching it. So live, it's actually, you get into the feel, you get reads on people, you can see how a person's mannerisms are. I just enjoy it a lot more. I think it's more of like a chess match now that you've got actual reads on everybody instead of just putting in a lot of volume and trying to make money.
Okay. Well, and kind of speaking of reads, are reads really all they're cracked up to be? I mean, how important are physical tells when you're playing live?
Honestly, I think it's less about physical tells and more about the feel of the game. I mean, how many pots people have played, stuff like that. But I have picked up a few things, even in the small amount of time that I've played, like where I can read into someone and how they're acting and kind of just try to out-level them into figuring out, are they trying to act strong because they're weak, or are they weak and are trying to act weak,
Mm-hmm.
or trying to act strong, I guess. And so I guess it's more about like betting patterns than more so reads. That's at least my viewpoint. But you can definitely look at some people sometime and just know that they're weak. So.
Right. Well, yeah, and there are some times where it's pretty much a certainty when you get a read off of them, but it's kind of a commonly known aspect of psychology that when you're right about something, you remember it, but when you're wrong about something, you forget about it. Do you think that applies with live reads? Do you think that people, they're right about a read and they remember that, and then all the times that they're wrong about reads, though, they kind of shove it into the back of their mind and forget?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, I knew the guy had queen 9 that hand, and then the next 3 times he says something like that, he'll be wrong. And I've even done that, obviously, many times. So, like, you gotta have king 9, and then they'll show me a set or something. I'm like, oh yeah, I was real good. So,
but then you forget about that, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, but it all comes down to math, and like the percentage of times that they'll hold this hand is a lot greater than the percentage of times they'll hold other hands. So when people say that they're getting a live read or they tell you their hand, like most of the time when I know someone's hand, it's because of the betting action, not really because I'm sitting here looking at them when they've got everything covered up and trying to see if their lips are quivering or if a vein in their neck is popping out,
You're right.
So.
Well, aside from all of the physical tells and stuff like that, what is another adjustment that you had to make coming from the online poker world to the live poker world?
Got to be a lot more patient. Sometimes, online you'll see, so many hands because you're playing at least 6 tables or so, but live, it's one hand at a time. But honestly, I enjoy it a lot more because you see and remember every hand and every face and every action on every bet or every raise or fold. So you get a lot more information that it just makes online to me now seem like I'm just playing blind, kind of. Like I really see how these live players get online and they're not that great, because if I played live for 15 years and then tried to go online and play pure mathematics blind, I mean obviously it'd be pretty difficult. So kind of feel like I've got the best of both worlds, where I got taught how to play short stacks, I got taught how to play, shallow, and now deep, I can get a lot more reads and play, and then when I do get short, online was there to teach me proper like push shove and stuff like that. So.
Well, and that's a good point actually. When you come from online, you're playing basically what you play in live poker, but when you switch to live, you're just adding a few aspects. Whereas when you come from live to online, you're having aspects of what you played taken away. So it's almost like getting your limb chopped off. All of these things that you may have relied on get taken away. So
yeah, exactly. And that's why I think that it's so easy for the online players to adjust to live, whereas it's tougher for the live players to adjust to online, just because, we're just taught from the very beginning, I guess, that mathematics plays a big part in it and stuff. But these guys, have been playing on their instincts for, so many years. It's kind of like, it makes me appreciate their game a lot more than I used to, because I used to see them make some dumb play and be like, oh, they're terrible. But now I see that I should be so much better at poker than they are, just because of everything I've gotten taught about, the mathematics of the game. But those guys are still killing it. So I mean, they're doing something right, especially this year. I mean, they're racking up all the bracelets.
Absolutely. This year it's just been a pro-heavy bracelet fest.
But I really enjoy it. Like, in the 10K, I had, like, Esfandiari, Phil Locke, and I'm just sitting here watching them, how they read people and stuff. And I remember one play vividly where Esfandiari and a guy, it was a small blind, big blind plot, and the small blind limped, and Esfandiari makes it, like, 4 times the big blind, and the other guy raised, and Esfandiari just called, and they were both really deep, and the flop comes like Queen XX. The guy bets, and Esfandiari sits there and thinks about it. He's got the money ready to throw in, so I'm just sitting here looking at Esfandiari and just looking at the guy at the end of the table, just trying to see, you know. And Esfandiari really has the money, like, ready to throw in the pot, and then I see the guy's hand, and it's just sitting there like this, shaking. I was like, wow, he's got to be super strong. And Esfandiari noticed it too, like right after I did. And he's just sitting there looking at the shaking hand with his money about to throw in. He slides the money back and throws his cards in the muck. And I talked to him about it later, and he's like, yeah, I was about to throw in the money, and I saw his hand shake, and I was like, maybe I'm learning a little something off these pros. So I just try to learn as much as I can, no matter what situation I'm in. I mean, there's always tons of information out there, whether you're on a good table or a bad table, to see, you know, how to adjust your game. So.
Okay. Well, and actually, let's jump back to a comment that you made about all of these live pros winning bracelets lately. There's a lot of trash talk thrown back and forth between online players and live players about who is better, and usually big tournament series like this is a chance to prove yourself, and yet we haven't seen too many big online players taking down bracelets. So
that's true. That's true. A lot of it has to do with experience too. I think, you know, they've all been there several times. You know, for me, obviously, it's my first year ever even being out here, so it kind of is like a learning experience. It's kind of like when you get to a final table and you don't take it down, it's like it makes you more thirsty and more hungry. So maybe next time I will get a chance to take the bracelet down or whatever, and, you know, not donk off or donate all my chips because of a bad read. Or I think that a big thing that you're seeing in online players is that we're playing really good poker. We've got, you know, a lot of players really deep, really playing well. You know, there's probably way more online players deep in the tournaments than the live players, but one thing you see with these guys in the live game is that they really know how to close out tournaments just because they've been there before. Like, online, it's kind of like once you win your first tournament, you kind of get, oh, I can do that again. So each time you do it, it becomes easier and easier. And so these guys, you know, have been to final tables before, so, you know, they kind of understand what it takes to win, especially like Negreanu, and I mean, Mattisell's obviously won other tournaments, and then Eric Lindgren is obviously a huge winner. So, I mean, he's going to do good. I mean, it's just a matter of time before he broke through. So I think it's just a matter of time before you start seeing the online guys, you know, go deep and start realizing what it takes to win. And obviously, I think I have what it takes to win. I've already won one event, so I mean, I think that it's just kind of a learning process. Maybe online we play a little too aggressively too, so in live you're seeing less hands. So if you play, you know, a little more tight, aggressive game, then you'll probably go deeper and play a lot better, which is pretty much what a lot of the pros do.
Okay. And to be clear, you said you won one event. You were talking about the Borgata Winter Open, not a World Series event.
Correct. I haven't won a World Series event yet.
Everyone would be like, I must have missed that.
Yeah, no bracelet for Sowers yet, so maybe this year or next. We'll see.
Well, then let's start talking about what you did before poker then, like before any of the poker influences, and what actually got you into poker in the first place as well.
Well, in like high school and stuff, I always played like computer games or something competitive, like with my brain, just because I guess I enjoyed like trying to outsmart people, or, you know, just being better intellectually at a specific game like chess or just an online computer game. And that's kind of like what I started doing once sports kind of dwindled down. In high school, I was always active. Like, I just played tennis and golf and, you know, football with my friends and stuff like that, and basketball. And so I guess it's kind of like as you get older, you start finding other competitive things to kind of get in if you're a really competitive person, or if you have that drive that you want to like try to outdo someone, I guess.
Okay. And what was your first experience with poker?
When I was like 17, I watched Rounders, and like the World Series Poker Moneymaker just won, and like I guess just me and all my friends started playing sit and goes, and it seemed like I won like 4 out of 5. So I was like, this is pretty easy. So I just started like trying to learn as much as I could and playing online for free money, and then eventually getting into real money and stuff. So.
Okay. Well, during that entire growth period in poker, what was the most valuable thing that you did to improve yourself?
Wow. The most valuable thing that improved me, I would say, is actually going bust at a young age. Like, I played way out of my bankroll when I was 17. You know, I quickly went from like $50 to like 30 grand. It was like the best and worst ride of my life. Like, you know, I was riding on a high. You know, I was planning on like, you know, taking time off school. You know, I was instantly going to be the next big thing. I mean, that's how it always is. And then eventually, you know, playing with all your money on one game, you can quickly go bust. So I did, and I just decided that poker wasn't for me because I couldn't control it right then. So I took about a year off. You know, I had part-time jobs. I mowed during the summers. I even worked at U-Haul like in the morning, like 5 a.m. shift before college and stuff. So like after about a year off or whatever, I kind of got back into it and decided, you know, that I could really do it, that I was good enough at it, I was talented enough at it. I just had to control, you know, my money and my ambitions and what I actually want to do in life, and it kind of just made me a lot more mature to lose all my money and then, you know, be broke. You know, it's a bad feeling, you know.
So the most valuable thing was going bust. So you would suggest to everyone out there, go bust early on.
Yeah.
Lose all your money.
I say lose all your money because I
to
remember,
you, preferably.
Not even to me, anybody. I don't even play cash games that much, but it's the biggest lesson in poker because when you go bust, it just tells you, you know, that you did something wrong. And so a lot of times I remember whenever I was making a lot of money, a lot of older, more experienced guys are always telling the younger guys, you know, manage your money. I don't care how good you are. I've been in this business. And us young guys would never listen to them. It's kind of like your fatherly advice that you give your son or whatever, and, you know, they just, oh, yeah, Dad, sure. And it happens. And so I kind of wish, I mean, you can tell a poker player, you know, all you want, but until they actually go bust and realize that it's a possibility, I don't really think they'll learn unless they're a really intelligent person. I mean, you have a lot of people that come in and understand bankroll management really good and don't ever go bust, but then you have a lot of people who are trying to be like, you know, the best ever. I mean, and just playing way out of their bankroll and just not very smart. I mean, if you're good enough, you know, the cream will rise to the top. You won't have to play out of your games. You can just, you know, grind away until you start beating all the games at a pretty good rate. So.
Okay, that's all the questions I got for you. I really appreciate you doing this interview with us.
All right, I appreciate it.
And thank you guys for watching The Online Zone on Card Player TV.